American grizzly bear is a symbol of the American character. Strength, intelligence, ferocity.
The following unexpected truths would have even Uncle Sam eating his hat. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 surprising facts about U.S. presidents.
Things that a president can never lose. Never, ever. The card with the nuclear codes on it.
For this list, we've rounded up the most surprising, lesser-known facts about America's commanders-in-chief throughout the decades. And, as always, only one entry per president.
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
And one of the things I've used on the Google is to pull up maps.
I have filters on internets.
Number 10. Theodore Roosevelt was America's first brown belt in judo.
Someone call my name.
Whoa.
Theodore Roosevelt at your service.
We start with probably the single most surprising president of them all. Theodore Roosevelt, A, wore a lock of Abraham Lincoln's hair mounted into a ring at his inauguration, B, is the inspiration behind the teddy bear, and C, was the first American to win the Nobel Peace Prize. The last of that list is more than a little ironic, considering what we've chosen as our top teddy fact. Roosevelt was also the first ever American brown belt in judo. We're betting those skills came in handy with some world leaders. Number 9. Grover Cleveland served as an executioner before he became president.
Big deal! When I was a pup, we got spanked by presidents till the cows came home. Grover Cleveland spanked me on 2 non-consecutive occasions.
The only president in American history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. Grover Cleveland started out his prestigious political career as sheriff of Erie County. During his time in the role, Cleveland also held responsibilities as public executioner. It fell within his duties to either perform executions himself or else pay a deputy to do so.
The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword.
Cleveland opted for the latter on 2 occasions and personally executed 2 convicted murderers by hanging, Patrick Morrissey and John Gaffney. Number 8. Bill Clinton lost the codes to enable nuclear warhead activation.
We know that the people in the White House are people like us misplacing things, but the nuclear code?
When you're president, you have to remember lots of important things. Never wear an unpressed shirt, always floss, and never, and we mean never, lose the nuclear detonation codes. Bill Clinton was brilliant at the first 2, but not so good at the third. The football is a briefcase kept close to the president, from which a nuclear attack can be launched at any time. The biscuit is a small card bearing top-secret codes for that briefcase. And on the morning after the Monica Lewinsky scandal, Clinton actually lost the biscuit.
It is important to me that everybody who has been hurt know that the sorrow I feel is genuine.
Number 7. William Taft had a custom-made bath installed in the White House. U.S. presidents come in all shapes and sizes, and William Taft was a little larger than the average. He was so large, in fact, he couldn't fit his 300-plus pounds in the conventional White House bathtub. The White House rumor is that Taft actually got stuck once while bathing, but at the very least, he did invest in a purpose-built, larger tub, large enough to comfortably fit 4 men of smaller proportions. Luckily, Taft lost considerable weight post-presidency, got healthier, and probably had room for a rubber ducky or 2. Number 6. Abraham Lincoln attended seances in the White House. When our next president wasn't abolishing the slave trade, he was attending to the spirits within the White House itself. Abraham Lincoln's life was shadowed in sorrow and in seriousness. Following the death of his son Willie in particular, Lincoln longed to communicate with the other side, and he and his wife regularly entertained well-known spiritualists. On more than one occasion, Lincoln was also afforded some form of prophetic ability, to the point where he foresaw his own assassination in a dream. As spooky as it is, Honest Abe might have been psychic.
The president has been shot.
Number 5. George Bush Sr. is the unenviable inspiration behind a Japanese word.
I'll ruin you like a Japanese banquet.
From the supernatural to the super embarrassing. In 1992, toward the end of a trading tour in Asia, George H.W. Bush was attending a state dinner held at the home of the Japanese Prime Minister. All was going well, but then Bush wasn't feeling well.
The lone camera in the dining room was locked in on the head table when President Bush was overcome by nausea and fell forward.
And then he vomited. And then he fainted.
In the words of George Bush, arigato gozaimasu.
A star-spangled stumble and then some. It's been magnificently memorialized in Japan itself, where there's now a word for public vomiting that literally translates as to do the Bush thing. Bushu suru, Mojoholics. Bushu suru.
Not only economically, I don't remember reading that.
Number 4. George W. Bush was a cheerleader in high school.
I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
A lot of people can likely think of a lot of words to describe George W. Bush, but coordinated probably isn't one of them. And yet, in high school and in university, George W. was decidedly coordinated. Being not too gifted at conventionally masculine pastimes, Bush got his bit of sports field glory by becoming head cheerleader. He's even been pictured in full skirt and wig pom-pom attire, while on stage mocking a rival school. What can we say but go Bush?
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
Number 3. Gerald Ford was once a fashion model.
The President of the United States.
Okay, so the image of George Bush cheerleading isn't entirely attractive. But in Gerald Ford, we have at least one president who was good-looking. Pre-presidency, Ford had an all-American charm about him, which landed him both the opportunity to play professional football and also the odd modeling gig. Boyishly good-looking. Ford even found himself on the front cover of Cosmopolitan on one occasion. This guy was destined for the runway. It just wasn't always going to be aboard Air Force One.
Do you like nachos?
Yes, Mr. Ford.
Well, why don't you come over and watch the game and we'll have nachos. And then some beer. Ooh.
Number 2. Lyndon Johnson was well endowed.
Another thing, the crotch down where your nuts hang is always a little too tight. So when you make them up, give me an inch that I can let out there because they cut me. They're just like riding a wire fence.
It may be runner-up, but this one's clearly our biggest surprise. Strangely enough, there's no official record detailing the dimensions of the presidential downstairs regions. But if there was, then Lyndon Johnson would probably top it. But Johnson wasn't just endowed down there. He really knew he was endowed down there. Here's a guy who named his little guy Jumbo, and ordered tailored suits with extra room for movement, and ordered a special shower nozzle be installed solely to rinse off the appendage. His ego was enormous, but so were his underpants.
Let's see if you can't leave me about an inch from where the zipper ends, round under my back to my bunghole.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Astrologer Joan Quigley was hired to read charts for one of the most powerful couples on Earth, and some people believed she changed history.
Number 1. Andrew Jackson killed a man in a duel.
Andrew Old Hickory Jackson ran for president in 1828. If you're wondering how he got such a lame nickname, it's because he used to carry around a hickory cane and beat people senseless with it.
Plenty of presidents are indirectly responsible for ending other people's lives. International conflict makes that an unfortunate inevitability. And we've seen how Grover Cleveland played lawful executioner. But 7th President Andrew Jackson actually killed someone outright. Before he took the top job, Jackson was notoriously violent and often inclined to traditionally duel with his enemies. Jackson shot one such enemy, Charles Dickinson, as Jackson attempted to defend his wife's honor. He was subsequently outcast as a dishonorable man. It's a miracle he ever made it to the White House at all.
If somebody looked at him the wrong way or somebody impugned his character in any way, he needed satisfaction.
Do you agree with our list? Which surprising fact did we forget?
I remember meeting a mother of a child who was abducted by the North Koreans right here in the Oval Office.
For more crazy but true top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
The end. Good memoirs.